The reluctant observer. Dr. Maya Chen stared out the viewport at the swirling cosmic dust, illuminated by distant stars, wondering for the thousandth time how she'd ended up here. The Galactic Coalition vessel Horizon hummed around her, its alien technology still fascinating after 3 months aboard. As Earth's diplomatic observer, she was supposed to be learning, watching, and reporting back, not getting involved in potentially history-altering negotiations. Dr. Chen, your presence is requested on the command deck. The ship's AI announced, its voice calibrated to sound pleasant to human ears, a courtesy that Captain Theric had insisted upon despite the extra programming required. Maya smoothed down her formal diplomatic uniform, dark blue with the Earth insignia on the shoulder, and made her way through corridors designed for beings with various anatomical configurations. The Horizon was one of the Coalition's most advanced diplomatic vessels, capable of accommodating representatives from over 30 different species. As the doors to the command deck slid open, Captain Theric turned to face her. The Ceridian's crystalline exoskeleton caught the light, refracting it into subtle rainbow patterns. Despite having worked with the captain for months, Maya still found the effect mesmerizing. Dr. Chen, we will be arriving at the negotiation coordinates in approximately 2 hours, Theric said, his translated voice maintaining its characteristic melodic quality. I wanted to brief you personally on what to expect. Maya nodded professionally. I appreciate that, Captain. Though I was under the impression that my role was purely observational. Theric's crystalline features shifted in what Maya had learned was an expression of concern. That was the original arrangement, yes. However, circumstances have changed. The Vashar Dominion has specifically requested information about Earth and its representatives. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. The Vashar were the reason humanity had been granted accelerated membership in the Coalition despite their relatively primitive technology. Earth sat on the border of Vashar space, and the aggressive species had been probing human defenses for years. That's unexpected, Maya said carefully. The Vashar have never shown interest in diplomatic channels before. They're notorious for taking what they want. Precisely why this overture is significant, Theric replied. In 300 cycles, this is the first time they've agreed to negotiations rather than simply conquering a territory they desire. First Science Officer Killith, a serpentine Draxian with iridescent scales, slithered closer. We suspect their interest in humans is tied to their sudden willingness to negotiate. Our intelligence suggests they've been observing Earth for some time but have avoided direct engagement. Maya frowned. So I'm supposed to be the monkey in the display case. Earth agreed to Coalition membership for protection against the Vashar, not to offer me up as some curiosity. Not at all, Dr. Chen. Theric's voice carried what might be interpreted as offense. You are here as Earth's official diplomatic observer. The fact that the Vashar have requested information about humans simply presents an opportunity to understand their intentions better. Maya sighed, rubbing her temples. Her doctorate in xenolinguistics and cultural anthropology had earned her this posting, but nothing in her training had prepared her for becoming the focus of an enigmatic and violent empire's attention. What exactly do they want to know about us? She asked. Killith manipulated the holographic display, bringing up a series of data points. They've requested biological data, cultural information, and most curiously, details about human neural patterns. Neural patterns? Maya echoed. Why would they care about how our brains work? Unknown, Theric replied simply. The Vashar are notoriously secretive about their own biology. What little we know comes from battlefield encounters, and even then, their bodies rapidly deteriorate upon death, leaving little to study. Maya's academic curiosity was piqued despite her reservations. What do we know about their biology? Killith brought up another display showing a vaguely humanoid silhouette with shifting, almost fluid-like internal structures. The Vashar appear to be composed of a semi-solid state matter organized around a central neural network. They have no fixed form and can adapt their physical structure to different environments. Their skin, if you can call it that, seems to act as both a sensory organ and a defense mechanism, capable of absorbing and redirecting various forms of energy, making them extremely difficult to fight. Theric added, "Conventional weapons are largely ineffective." Maya studied the display with growing unease, and we're about to enter negotiations with them. At an outpost on the edge of Coalition space, Theric confirmed, "Neutral ground, as agreed upon by both parties." The tactical officer, a stocky Regalian named Brax, snorted derisively. "Neutral ground with a Vashar battle fleet positioned just beyond detection range, according to our long-range scans." Maya raised an eyebrow. "You didn't mention a battle fleet, Captain." Theric's crystalline shoulders shifted in a gesture equivalent to a shrug. "Standard Vashar procedure. They never approach diplomatic situations without overwhelming force nearby. We have our own fleet positioned strategically as well." "Reassuring," Maya muttered. "So what am I supposed to do exactly?" "Simply be present," Theric said. "Answer questions about Earth if asked. Observe the proceedings as per your original mission parameters. The Coalition Council believes having a human present might help uncover why the Vashar seem so interested in your species." Maya nodded slowly, though her instincts were screaming that there was more to this situation than she was being told. "And if I feel that the questions become too intrusive or potentially compromising to Earth's security?" "You have full authority to decline answering," Theric assured her. "Earth may be a new member of the Coalition, but you have the same rights and protections as any representative." Before Maya could respond, alarms blared throughout the command deck. Brax rushed to his station, his 4 arms working rapidly across the controls. "Captain, we're detecting spatial distortions at coordinates 225 Mark 47. Theric moved with surprising speed for a crystalline being. On screen, the main viewport shifted to show the empty space ahead of them, suddenly rippling like disturbed water. A massive ship materialized where there had been nothing, easily 3 times the size of the horizon. Its surface was an unsettling non-color that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. "Vashar warship," Keleth hissed, pupils contracting to thin slits. "Red alert," Theric ordered calmly. "Shields to maximum. Open a communication channel." Maya stood frozen, staring at the massive alien vessel. She'd seen images of Vashar ships, but nothing compared to the visceral dread inspired by seeing one in person. It resembled less a spacecraft and more a wound in reality itself. "Channel open," the communications officer reported. "Vashar vessel, this is Captain Theric of the Galactic Coalition Diplomatic Vessel Horizon. We were scheduled to meet at Outpost." The view screen flared to life, revealing a figure that made Maya's skin crawl. Where a face should have been was only a reflective surface that distorted her own reflection back at her. The body seemed to constantly shift and flow beneath a skin-tight covering that might have been armor or might have been part of the being itself. "Captain Theric," the Vashar representative spoke, its voice a dissonant harmony of tones that somehow formed words. "Our intelligence indicates you have brought a human specimen as requested." Maya bristled at being called a specimen but kept her composure. Theric's voice remained diplomatic. "Dr. Maya Chen is Earth's diplomatic observer, yes. We were to meet at the designated outpost." "Plans have changed," the Vashar interrupted. "You will surrender your vessel for inspection. The human will be transferred to our ship for analysis." The command deck fell silent. Maya felt her heart racing, but fought to maintain her professional demeanor. "That was not our agreement," Theric responded, a hint of edge entering his melodic voice. "Dr. Chen is under Coalition protection. Any interaction must take place at a neutral location with appropriate diplomatic protocols." The Vashar's reflective face rippled slightly. "Your protection is irrelevant. We have tracked human vessels for many cycles, but have been unable to capture specimens for proper study. This opportunity will not be wasted." Maya stepped forward before Theric could respond. "I am not a specimen for study. I am Earth's representative to the Galactic Coalition." The Vashar seemed to focus on her, the reflective surface of its face rippling more intensely. The human speaks. Interesting. Your neural patterns are distinctive even at this distance. Maya exchanged a puzzled glance with Therak before addressing the Vashar again. What exactly interests you about human neural patterns? Instead of answering, the Vashar turned its attention back to Therak. You have 30 of your time units to prepare for boarding. Resistance is inadvisable. The transmission cut abruptly, leaving the command deck in stunned silence. Well, Maya said after a moment, her voice steadier than she felt. I guess negotiations have begun. Therak turned to her, the light refracting through his crystalline form in patterns that signaled alarm. Dr. Chen, I must apologize. This situation has escalated beyond our expectations. Brax was already at the tactical station. At an outpost on the edge of Coalition space, Therak confirmed. Neutral ground, as agreed upon by both parties. The tactical officer, a stocky Regalian named Brax, snorted derisively. Neutral ground with a Vashar battle fleet positioned just beyond detection range, according to our long-range scans. Maya raised an eyebrow. You didn't mention a battle fleet, Captain. Therak's crystalline shoulders shifted in a gesture equivalent to a shrug. Standard Vashar procedure. They never approach diplomatic situations without overwhelming force nearby. We have our own fleet positioned strategically as well. Reassuring, Maya muttered. So what am I supposed to do exactly? Simply be present, Therak said. Answer questions about Earth if asked. Observe the proceedings as per your original mission parameters. The Coalition Council believes having a human present might help uncover why the Vashar seem so interested in your species. Maya nodded slowly, though her instincts were screaming that there was more to this situation than she was being told. And if I feel that the questions become too intrusive or potentially compromising to Earth's security, you have full authority to decline answering, Therak assured her. Earth may be a new member of the Coalition, but you have the same rights and protections as any representative. Before Maya could respond, alarms blared throughout the command deck. Brax rushed to his station, his 4 arms working rapidly across the controls. Captain, we're detecting spatial distortions at coordinates 225 Mark 47. Therak moved with surprising speed for a crystalline being. On screen, the main viewport shifted to show the empty space ahead of them, suddenly rippling like disturbed water. A massive ship materialized where there had been nothing, easily 3 times the size of the horizon. Its surface was an unsettling non-color that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. Vashar warship, Keleth hissed, pupils contracting to thin slits. Red alert, Therak ordered calmly. Shields to maximum. Open a communication channel. Maya stood frozen, staring at the massive alien vessel. She'd seen images of Vashar ships, but nothing compared to the visceral dread inspired by seeing one in person. It resembled less a spacecraft and more a wound in reality itself. Channel open, the communications officer reported. Vashar vessel, this is Captain Therak of the Galactic Coalition diplomatic vessel Horizon. We were scheduled to meet at outpost. The view screen flared to life, revealing a figure that made Maya's skin crawl. Where a face should have been was only a reflective surface that distorted her own reflection back at her. The body seemed to constantly shift and flow beneath a skin-tight covering that might have been armor or might have been part of the being itself. Captain Therak, the Vashar representative, spoke, its voice a dissonant harmony of tones that somehow formed words. Our intelligence indicates you have brought a human specimen as requested. Maya bristled at being called a specimen, but kept her composure. Therak's voice remained diplomatic. Dr. Maya Chen is Earth's diplomatic observer, yes. We were to meet at the designated outpost. Plans have changed, the Vashar interrupted. You will surrender your vessel for inspection. The human will be transferred to our ship for analysis. The command deck fell silent. Maya felt her heart racing, but fought to maintain her professional demeanor. That was not our agreement, Therak responded, a hint of edge entering his melodic voice. Dr. Chen is under Coalition protection. Any interaction must take place at a neutral location with appropriate diplomatic protocols. The Vashar's reflective face rippled slightly. Your protection is irrelevant. We have tracked human vessels for many cycles, but have been unable to capture specimens for proper study. This opportunity will not be wasted. Maya stepped forward before Theric could respond. I am not a specimen for study. I am Earth's representative to the Galactic Coalition. The Vashar seemed to focus on her, the reflective surface of its face rippling more intensely. The human speaks. Interesting. Your neural patterns are distinctive even at this distance. Maya exchanged a puzzled glance with Theric before addressing the Vashar again. What exactly interests you about human neural patterns? Instead of answering, the Vashar turned its attention back to Theric. You have 30 of your time units to prepare for boarding. Resistance is inadvisable. The transmission cut abruptly, leaving the command deck in stunned silence. Well, Maya said after a moment, her voice steadier than she felt. I guess negotiations have begun. Theric turned to her, the light refracting through his crystalline form in patterns that signaled alarm. Dr. Chen, I must apologize. This situation has escalated beyond our expectations. Brax was already at the tactical station. Captain, their weapons systems are powering up. Shield penetration capabilities unknown. Can we outrun them? Maya asked. Killith shook his head. Vashar vessels possess superior propulsion technology, and even if we could, they would simply follow us to Coalition space, perhaps even to Earth. The implications weren't lost on Maya. Earth was still developing its defensive capabilities if the Vashar decided to attack her homeworld directly. Captain, she said with sudden resolve, we need to understand why they're so fixated on humans. They've mentioned neural patterns twice now. Theric nodded. Indeed, their interest seems specific and unusual. Maya's mind raced through possibilities. They've been observing Earth, but haven't attacked. They've requested information about our biology, and they seem particularly interested in our brains. She turned to the science officer. Killith, can you do a comparative analysis between human neural patterns and what we know of Vashar biology? There might be a connection we're missing. Killith slithered to his station. I can try, but our data on Vashar physiology is extremely limited. We have 28 minutes before they attempt to board. Theric noted. Make preparations for defensive measures, but continue Dr. Chen's line of investigation. If there's something about human biology that concerns the Vashar, we need to know what it is. Maya stared at the massive Vashar ship on the view screen, a cold determination replacing her earlier fear. She had come aboard the horizon as an observer, but circumstances had changed. Now, somehow, she found herself at the center of a potential interstellar incident, with the safety of Earth possibly hanging in the balance. Whatever the Vashar wanted from humans, she wasn't going to let them take it without a fight. First contact gone wrong. The 28 minutes before the Vashar's deadline passed with frantic activity aboard the horizon. Maya found herself in the science lab with Killith, poring over comparative neural scans while tactical preparations echoed throughout the ship. This is remarkable, Killith hissed, his forked tongue flicking out in excitement as he studied the data. Human neural patterns operate at a frequency that creates a subtle electromagnetic field. Most species have something similar, but yours has a unique oscillation pattern. Maya leaned closer to the holographic display. And how does that relate to the Vashar? Based on our limited data, Killith manipulated the display to show a side-by-side comparison. Vashar cellular cohesion appears to be maintained by a centralized electromagnetic field. Their entire physical form is essentially held together by a specific frequency pattern. The implications began to dawn on Maya. Are you suggesting our neural patterns might disrupt theirs somehow? Before Killith could answer, Captain Theric's voice came over the comm system. All personnel to battle stations. Dr. Chen, please report to the command deck immediately. Maya exchanged a glance with Killith. Keep working on this. It might be our only advantage. When she arrived on the command deck, The atmosphere was tense. The massive Vashar vessel loomed on the view screen, now close enough that its light-absorbing surface seemed to create a void in space itself. "They're hailing us," Therak said as she entered. The view screen shifted to show the same featureless Vashar representative. "Your time has expired. Prepare to be boarded." Therak stepped forward. "We have analyzed your request and have a counterproposal. We will transmit basic data about human biology as a gesture of good faith, but Dr. Chen will remain aboard the Horizon under Coalition protection." The Vashar's reflective face rippled. "Unacceptable. We require direct examination." Maya moved to stand beside Therak. "May I ask why you're so interested in humans specifically? Perhaps if we understood your motivations, we could find a compromise." The Vashar seemed to study her for a moment. "Your species produces an electromagnetic signature that requires investigation. Your neural patterns are problematic." "Problematic how?" Maya pressed. Instead of answering, the Vashar turned to Therak. "Your shields will be disabled in 30 seconds. Resistance will result in the destruction of your vessel." The transmission cut off abruptly. "Well, that was productive," Maya muttered. Therak turned to his tactical officer. "Brax, status of our defensive capabilities." "Shields at maximum, but their technology is advanced. If they have shield penetration capabilities as rumored." Brax left the implication hanging. Maya's mind raced. "Captain, I think there's something about human neural patterns that the Vashar find threatening. Killith and I were just discovering that." The ship shuddered violently, throwing Maya against a nearby console. Warning lights flashed across the command deck. "Direct hit to our shield generators," Brax reported, his 4 arms working frantically across multiple interfaces. "Shields failing. They're using some kind of focused electromagnetic pulse." "Evasive maneuvers," Therak ordered calmly, his crystalline form reflecting the red alert lights. The Horizon banked sharply, but the massive Vashar vessel matched their movements with surprising agility. Another blast hit them, and Maya felt the deck plates vibrate beneath her feet. "Engineering reports drive system damage," the communications officer called out. "We're losing maneuverability." Maya gripped the console tightly. "Can we send a distress signal to the Coalition fleet?" "Communications are being jammed," Brax replied grimly. "Standard Vashar tactic." Therak turned to Maya, his crystalline features set in what she'd learned to recognize as determination. "Dr. Chen, as Earth's representative, I must inform you that we may soon be facing a boarding action. Coalition protocol recommends that diplomatic personnel be moved to secure locations." Maya straightened her shoulders. "With all due respect, Captain, I'm staying right here. If the Vashar want me, they'll have to come through all of us to get me." A hint of what might have been approval flickered through Therak's crystalline form. "Very well. Brax, prepare boarding defense protocols. All non-essential personnel to evacuation stations." The ship rocked again, more violently this time. The lights flickered, and for a moment, the artificial gravity wavered. "Direct hit to our primary power core," Brax reported. Switching to auxiliary systems, the view screen showed the Vashar vessel extending what looked like tendrils of darkness toward the horizon. "Boarding tubes," Killith explained, having just arrived on the command deck. "They're about to." A tremendous sound echoed through the ship, the unmistakable noise of the hull being breached. Multiple hull breaches detected on decks 3, 5, and 7, the ship's AI announced calmly. Therak drew himself up to his full height, his crystalline body catching the emergency lights. "Dr. Chen, stay close to me. Brax, deploy security teams to all breach points." Maya nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. She wasn't military, but Earth's diplomatic corps received basic combat training. She accepted the energy pistol Brax handed her, hoping she wouldn't need to use it. "Captain," Killith said urgently, before we were interrupted, "Dr. Chen and I discovered something significant. Human neural patterns operate at a frequency that theoretically could disrupt Vashar biological cohesion. If we could amplify." The doors to the command deck burst open. Where the door had been now stood 3 Vashar warriors, their forms seeming to absorb the light around them. Unlike the representative they'd seen on the view screen, these beings wore no covering. Their bodies appeared to be composed of a constantly shifting, oil-like substance with no fixed form. Maya raised her weapon instinctively, but Theric held up a crystalline hand. "Wait. Let us attempt communication first." The lead Vashar stepped forward, its body rippling and shifting. Where a face should have been, there was only a reflective surface that distorted Maya's own face back at her. "Captain Theric." The creature's voice was the same dissonant harmony they'd heard before. "Surrender the human female, and your crew will be spared." Maya fought the urge to step back as the Vashar's attention focused on her. She could feel a strange sensation, almost like static electricity, raising the hair on her arms. "The human remains under coalition protection," Theric replied firmly. "I suggest you return to your vessel before our defensive systems activate." The Vashar moved closer, its form seeming to expand slightly. "Your defensive systems have been neutralized. The human will." It stopped abruptly, the reflective surface of its face rippling violently. Maya noticed something strange. The closer it got to her, the more its form seemed to waver and become unstable. "Fascinating," Killith whispered beside her. "Your neural patterns are affecting it already, even without amplification." The Vashar suddenly withdrew several steps, its form stabilizing as it increased the distance between itself and Maya. "The human's emission pattern is stronger than anticipated. Containment protocols will be required." Maya exchanged a quick glance with Killith before facing the Vashar again. "What exactly about my emission pattern concerns you?" Instead of answering, the Vashar turned to its companions and made a series of liquid-sounding noises that the translator couldn't interpret. The other 2 Vashar moved forward, producing what looked like metallic spheres from within their fluid bodies. "Those are containment devices," Brax warned, raising his weapon. "Standard Vashar technology for capturing specimens." Maya felt a surge of both fear and determination. She wasn't about to become anyone's laboratory specimen. She stepped forward deliberately, moving closer to the lead Vashar. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The alien's form began to ripple violently, its edges becoming blurred and unstable. It retreated quickly, almost colliding with its companions. "Maintain distance," it commanded, its harmonious voice now discordant and strained. Maya felt a surge of realization. "They can't get too close to me," she said, loud enough for the bridge crew to hear. "My neural patterns really do disrupt their biology." The lead Vashar's reflective face turned toward her. "Human understanding is irrelevant. You will be contained and studied." Maya took another deliberate step forward. All 3 Vashar retreated in perfect synchronization with her advance. The static feeling on her skin intensified. "I don't think so," she said with newfound confidence. "In fact, I think you should tell us exactly what you want with humans, and why you've been watching Earth." The Vashar's form rippled again, more violently this time. "Your species produces neural frequencies that destabilize our cellular cohesion. Prolonged exposure is dangerous. You must be studied to develop countermeasures." Maya glanced at Theric, who gave her a subtle nod to continue. She was on to something. "So what you're saying," Maya pressed, taking yet another step forward, "is that just being near me hurts you. That just by existing, humans pose a threat to Vashar." The lead Vashar's surface undulated in what Maya was beginning to recognize as distress. "Enough. You will be contained, or we will be forced to eliminate this vessel entirely." Theric moved to stand beside Maya. "I believe we have discovered why the Vashar have never attacked Earth directly despite their superior technology," he said quietly, "and why they've suddenly become interested in negotiations." Maya nodded slowly. "They're afraid of us, or rather, afraid of what our biology does to theirs." She turned back to the Vashar, emboldened by this revelation. "Let me guess, your species has been observing Earth from a distance, because you can't get too close without experiencing these disruptive effects. And now you're worried because Earth has joined the coalition and humans might start spreading throughout the galaxy. The lead Vashar went completely still, its reflective surface showing no movement whatsoever. Maya knew she'd hit the mark. "Here's my counter-proposal," she said, channeling every diplomatic skill she'd learned. "Release our ship, return to your vessel, and engage in actual honest negotiations as originally planned." Or, she took another deliberate step forward, causing all three Vashar to retreat. "I can just keep walking toward you and see what happens when I get really close." For a tense moment, no one moved. Then the lead Vashar turned to its companions and made another series of untranslatable sounds. The other two Vashar retreated toward the door. "We will withdraw temporarily," the lead Vashar announced. "But this matter is not concluded. The human threat must be addressed." As suddenly as they had appeared, the three Vashar flowed out through the doorway, their forms seeming to melt into the shadows. Maya released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Well, that was intense. Tharuk's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been relief. Indeed, and most informative. "It appears we have discovered why the Vashar have been observing Earth rather than conquering it as they have done with other worlds. They physically can't get close enough to humans without suffering biological effects," Keleth said, excitement evident in his serpentine features. "This is unprecedented." Brax checked his tactical display. "Captain, sensors show the Vashar boarding parties withdrawing to their vessel." "Maintain alert status," Tharuk ordered. "They may merely be regrouping." Maya stared at the doorway where the Vashar had disappeared, her mind racing. "Captain, I think we need to talk about leveraging this new information. If human neural patterns really do affect Vashar biology, that completely changes the dynamic of any negotiation." Tharuk nodded, light refracting through his crystalline form in patterns that indicated deep thought. "Indeed, Dr. Chen. It appears your role has evolved from observer to central figure in what may be the most significant diplomatic exchange in coalition history." Maya felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. What had begun as a routine diplomatic mission had evolved into something much more complex and potentially dangerous. Yet she couldn't help but feel a flutter of excitement alongside her apprehension. For the first time since joining the coalition, humanity had discovered they possessed something unique, something that even the feared Vashar recognized as powerful. "So," she said, straightening her. Before anyone could respond, the transmission cut off. "Well, that was cryptic," Maya muttered. Brax snorted, a sound that indicated skepticism in his species. "It's obviously a trap. They want to isolate the human and capture her for study." "Perhaps," Tharuk said thoughtfully. "But the mention of the precursors is significant. The Vashar have never shared information about their connection to precursor technology before." Maya's mind was racing. What if there's more to this than we thought? What if the Vashar know something about human origins that we don't? Keleth's forked tongue flicked out in what Maya had learned was a gesture of contemplation. "There have always been questions about how humans evolved so quickly compared to other species. Your neural complexity is unusual for your technological development stage. Are you suggesting the precursors had something to do with human evolution?" Maya asked, both disturbed and fascinated by the possibility. "It would explain the specific frequency of your neural patterns," Keleth said, "if they were designed to disrupt Vashar biology." The implications were staggering. Maya took a moment to process the suggestion that humans might have been deliberately engineered as some kind of weapon or countermeasure against the Vashar. "Regardless of ancient history," Tharuk interjected practically, "we must decide how to respond to the Vashar proposal." Maya took a deep breath. "I think we should agree to the meeting, with precautions, of course. This could be a unique opportunity to learn more about the Vashar and potentially establish a foundation for actual peace talks. It could also be an elaborate trap," Brax pointed out. "True," Maya acknowledged. But now that we understand how human neural patterns affect them, we have a natural advantage. They can't get too close to me without suffering consequences. Tharuk considered this. A valid point. Brax, what is the status of our communications with the Coalition fleet? Still being jammed, Brax replied grimly. We're on our own for now. Maya straightened her shoulders. Then we use what advantages we have. If the Vashar are so affected by human neural patterns, let's see if we can amplify that effect. She turned to Keleth. You said the effect is cumulative with multiple humans. Is there a way to artificially increase the intensity of my own neural pattern? Some kind of amplification device? Keleth's eyes widened. Theoretically, yes. We could modify one of our sensor arrays to resonate at the same frequency as your neural pattern, effectively amplifying it. Could such a device be made portable? Tharuk asked, catching on to Maya's thinking. I believe so, Keleth replied, already manipulating the holographic display to sketch out a design. It wouldn't be elegant, but it could be functional within a few hours. Maya nodded decisively. Then that's our insurance policy. If the Vashar try anything at this meeting, I'll have a way to defend myself without weapons. I'll begin work immediately, Keleth said, slithering toward the science lab. And I'll compose a response to the Vashar, Tharuk added. We'll accept their proposal but insist on additional safety protocols. 4 hours later, Maya stood in the shuttle bay, adjusting the small device Keleth had created. It resembled a slim silver band that fit around her wrist, with tiny indicators showing its power status. The amplifier,